So I wanted to talk about this interesting week in high school that seemed to come out of one of those like early 2000s high school movies. It was really interesting because there was this girl on campus, her name was Prayer. No one knew who she was, or at least I had no idea who she was. My friends didn't know who she was. The upperclassmen didn't know who she was. She was a sophomore at the time. I was a junior. And all of these upperclassmen were getting invited to her birthday party. It was so big, in fact, that her parents sponsored a Snapchat geotag for her party. Like for the week before, you could take a picture anywhere around town and you could put the some kind of geotag or one of those filters where it's like, oh, prayer sweet 16th is coming up, prayer sweet 16th, March 20, April, whatever. It goes to show the scale of this thing, and it was being run like an organized event. I remember there would be like a distribution of the wristbands to her party at a certain place in school during lunch every day leading up to this party. So, with everybody, pretty much the whole school going, we were all pretty excited. And we all knew what we were going to do that Friday and Saturday night. And I have to say, they did a good job with the marketing. I don't know if her dad's a club promoter or something, but he seemed to have invested a lot of money in his daughter's Sweet 16, which is very thoughtful of him. But as far as prayer, I'm not really sure what her reasoning was for wanting to invite the entire school to her party. I'm not sure if she wanted to look cool or if she was trying to make new friends, if she wanted to just have the banger of the year. But we're all here for it. It wasn't in a house either. There was a venue that was rented out, a pretty large venue on the harbor. So with that being said, it was pretty beautiful. You would go up to the harbor, and a place was pretty much on the waterfront. It was like a place that the school would rent for a homecoming dance or for a prom dance or something. This is the scale of that. I think her dad, with everything involved, must have spent at least five figures on this party. And again, I just don't know what the purpose of this was. If why someone would want to have a party at this scale of this size with this much investment into it. Like a Sweet 16, you can have a house party, you can have like a barbecue, but this was on a scale that I haven't seen before. And no one just invites, the whole school, all these random people. I would say there was at least 600 people there. Anyone that had at least some sort of social status was going to be at this party. So I remember that Friday or Saturday night came around and we all dressed in our formal attire. That was the dress code for the night. And we were all showed up in the parking lot. All the other cars were there. We're all pre-gaming outside. We're all taking shots. We're doing our thing, doing things that high schoolers shouldn't be doing, but we all did anyway. I remember one of my friends had to pull trigger in the bathroom before we went in. So he was off to a great start. And then alcohol wasn't allowed into the venue, so that was like another aspect of this that felt like it was another homecoming dance or a prom dance or something because we're all in formal attire, no alcohol involved, and we're all in some venue off campus, but we're with everybody else from our high school, right? We're all wearing our Prayer Sweet 16th wristbands and posting it on Snapchat. We're at Prayer's party, and we get inside, and they have a whole disco ball. They have a DJ, and the entire school was there. We're all dancing. I remember they were playing Fergalicious, and I was going crazy. We got to know a cool group of girls that we would always see at school, but we never really talked to. I remember one of the other girls was Persian, and I was Persian, so they're like, trying to get us together. But she had like a stigma with her that she wasn't that good looking. So, me being dumb, I was like, I can't lose my social status. So I can't get into that. Now she's actually really pretty. So it's funny how the times change. And she was pretty back then too. I was just being a dumb teenager. Can't let the whole school know that I hooked up with her. Can't let the whole school know I hooked up with Sarah, so and so. So where the night gets interesting is we came to the point where we ran out of alcohol. We brought some those little shooters inside, and we're doing our thing. And there's no reentry into the party, so we make the executive decision to leave the party by jumping the fence, which we did, and go back to the car, get a couple of bottles, put them in a backpack, and bring them in. And then we're also gonna be like the cool guys that brought in some of the alcohol, and we're gonna meet some cool girls, and We're gonna hang out. We're gonna have the drinks, guys. We're gonna be those guys. So the easy part was leaving and getting the bottles. The harder part was gonna be climbing the humongous fence back into the rear patio that was facing the ocean, and try and bring our backpack with bottles in without looking suspicious. And like, no one else came in with a backpack, right? So we're gonna be like the odd ones out. What we ended up doing was launching the backpack over the fence, and I think one of my friends or acquaintances caught it, managed to get it. I jumped the fence back in, ripped my pants on the way back in, so I had a huge gash where my gooch was. That was fun. But I also look like a legend. So all of a sudden, we have this big crowd around us. Everyone knows that we got the drinks. We're pouring up. We're taking swigs, 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 swigs. And people are wondering what's going on with this big huddle of people going on in the back patio. Is this like a fight that's breaking out, or people drinking on some mommy juice or something? Are they sapping out of dad's liquor bottle from the cabinet? So we got about halfway through these bottles, and eventually the security came, and they snagged the bottles. But it was such a big group of us that they weren't able to like pinpoint who did it. But they took the backpack too, so I lost the backpack out of that. But that was okay. I think I found that backpack at another party like months before, anyways. But yeah, it was fun. I think I got a little bit too hammered to be able to talk to women, and talk to girls. I wasn't able to make the best impression that night, but it was super fun time. But the moral of the story is, Prayer, the one that threw this party, she didn't really gain any social status after this. She stayed in the same place. She still had the same group of friends. 99% of those people that came and didn't speak to her before, and also never spoke to her again after that party was over. And we all went up to Prayer, who I literally never met before this party, and I said, "Hey, Prayer, this is a really good function that you guys put up. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it." My friends, they said the same wishes for her. And Monday, Tuesday comes around, we see her around campus, we smile, and that's pretty much the extent of it. And I'm not saying that the whole reason that she threw this party was to gain social status, but for anyone's watching that is an adolescent in high school, don't try and reach into your parents' pockets. Don't try and convince your parents to throw this huge function for you, or go out of the way to have that Project X or something, while your parents are gone, and totally sacrifice your house. People aren't really going to care after. They're going to use you for that one night. They're going to have a good time. And they'll acknowledge that night. They'll remember it forever, like I did. That party was about 9 years ago. Unless you have a special connection to that person, you won't really be speaking to them again. Now the dynamic changes a little bit if you're throwing parties consistently. If Prayer was having one of these like every month, or she had a really cool house and was always throwing parties and the in crowd is showing up, then maybe she wouldn't be like one of the core groups, the core members of the in crowd, but she would pretty much be serving as a venue for the in crowd to be hanging out at. Which, if you notice, when you go to a lot of these parties, sometimes it's not always one of the people in the in crowd that's doing it. Sometimes there's those people that you feel like is a part of them, but they're actually really using them to get the perks that come out of them and have a place to hang out at, have a place to drink at, smoke weed at, whatever. So high school's a temporary thing. You're not going to speak to most of the people after you're finished. Everyone knows that. But this girl's dad spent over $10,000 on this humongous party just for her to probably be micromanaging a lot of the stuff and worried, have a lot of anxiety about, whether this is going to be a good party or not. Maybe have a good time for a few hours. Um, watching her dad go around and take alcohol away from the patrons. So this guy spent a bunch of money to like be security at the same time. And then that year, that senior class that you invited is going to graduate, and the junior class is going to graduate the next year, and you had a pretty good function, but maybe it wasn't worth the reaching $10,000 in your dad's pocket. Anyways, thanks if you made it all the way through to this point in the video. This is my second video that I've made, and I've got a million more stories to tell, not just of high school, but about life. I'm trying to offload a lot of stories and just share my experiences. And as life goes on, I'm gonna make more realizations, and I'm gonna have more stories to tell. So leave a comment down below what you think of this whole situation. If you guys had that one person in high school, you guys had that one girl in high school, a guy that was trying to gain social status, throw these huge parties, but wasn't really with the crowd. Um, had a parent that threw a humongous Sweet 16, humongous party for their kid, or just share other funny high school party stories in general. I'm all happy to hear that. And if you have anything that you want to ask me or anything that you think I should improve on, just let me know. And I appreciate you guys watching.